G'day, mate. Just a quick vid in response to the wonderful Ben Rankin's video today with Mike Vinyl Spiral. Um, it was very, very good. Very. They're all good, all of them. But the pronunciation thing, I won't go too deep into this because I don't want to ruin any further questions you might um, want to use in the future. But just regarding the pronunciation of castle, um, in New South Wales we say castle and garage. Now they are what you would call the posh pronunciations, but then we say dance, not dance. Uh, it's weird. It's like I'm not sure with. I think Queensland pretty much whatever New South Wales pronunciation is. I think Queensland's probably the same. I can't because it's there. That brewery is called Castlemaine, so that's Queensland. So I've never heard anyone call it Castlemaine. It's Castlemaine. It's a funny thing, and Western Australia. Well, I've never lived there, so I can't comment on that. Perth and Adelaide have always had very big British migrants. Like when I lived there in 59, 60 as a kid, I actually got into fist fights in the schoolyard because they would call me convict, number one, because I was from Sydney. Well, actually, I was only second generation Australian. Well, we did have ancestors out here in the 1860s, but they didn't stay long. They came out, made their fortune or whatever, and went back to the old Blighty or wherever. But yeah, so there was quite a lot of actual what I would call pommy bastards in Adelaide when I was a kid, and yeah, I used to get into fist fights. They'd say garage, and I'd say garage. Now it's weird, isn't it? They say in South. This is one thing I know about, and I'm talking 60 years ago. We in New South Wales, you say dance. In South Australia, it's in Adelaide, it's dance. Um, in New South Wales, it's garage, and in South Australia, it's garage. See, garage is sort of like a working man's way of saying a garage. It's so confusing because instead of like for instance, if they stuck to the formula, the South Australian should say dance, garage, chance, which they do, grant instead of grant. Uh, it, but they don't. There's a couple of words where they actually say garage, which to people in New South Wales, we go, oh my God, that's the sort of thing a chimney sweep from Soho would pronounce it. Anyway, that's enough bullshit. But it was very entertaining. And but the funny thing is, I've got to finish on one thing. When I was in London in '78, I was in Paddington actually, yeah, and I went in for a beer. And I just said, oh, could I forget what I ordered. I didn't say a schooner because that's a big glass, not as big as a pint, but bigger than a midi and bigger again than a pony. These are Sydney, what we call drink sizes in New South Wales. But I asked for a beer. I can't remember how I asked him. And he said, let me guess. He said, you're obviously from Australia. I said, yeah. He said, I think I can tell where you're from. I said, you sure, mate? I said, it's a bloody big country and there's not much variation there's no such thing as dialects like in Europe or Britain or even the US. There are, differences, but there's every Australian can understand every other Australian. So he said, yeah, definitely from Sydney. I said, wow, he just said, yeah, it's obvious to me. And I said, well, you know what, mate? I said, I couldn't tell if someone Australian came up to me in a foreign country and said, where do you think, which city or state do you think I'm from? I'd probably have a hard time guessing, about as much luck as poor old Mike did on your show today. Anyway, that was good fun. Bye now. Uru.